Hello, traders. You're all very welcome to another Trader View interview here at the Alpha Capital Group. So today we have one of our fellow UK-based traders, Daniel from Brighton in the United Kingdom. Good morning, Daniel. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Gerald. I'm doing great, mate.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So obviously, everyone, for those watching along, it'll be good to hear Daniel's story into the markets, a bit about Daniel's approach and how he trades, his philosophy, his ethos, his general trading process, and everything else in between. So, Daniel, do you want to maybe introduce the community, introduce the audience a bit about yourself?
Yeah, cool. So my name's Daniel, currently 19. I've been trading now for about 4 years, give or take. So I initially got into the market when I was around 14. I started via the same way that everyone starts, either an MLM company or some BS Instagram group, little signals here and there in it. So I got introduced to the market. Then around 15, 16, I started learning independently how to trade, smart money concepts, Fibonacci, Elliott wave theory, all of this stuff. And there was a couple of years of just unprofitability and really struggling until I eventually found my edge via price action and via simplicity and focusing on the psychology and focusing on the emotional aspect of things. And I slowly begun to kind of build up my system and gain that profitability. So yeah, it's been a very long road to get here, but we're here now, and it's very, very interesting.
Good. And I suppose in terms of your day-to-day trading process,
Yeah.
would you see yourself as a higher time frame trader, Daniel, lower time frame, but maybe a mix of both?
So I would consider myself a scalper, but I'm not necessarily sitting there getting in and out of the markets. I max take one position per day, so I'm very conservative with my trading. I only really look for like 5 to 6 positions a month. But I will sit there and I'll trade the 5 minute entry. I only trade the indices, so it's US 30, German 30, and NASDAQ. And typically speaking, I'll hold my positions from anywhere from like 30 minutes to like up to like 2, 3 hours. So I'm like scalping slash intraday.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And I suppose in terms of your process, because I know obviously trading indices is often obviously difficult with the intraday volatility, particularly at the minute.
Yeah.
So I suppose bringing that process in, what brought you into trading itself? Because I know obviously you started at a very, very young age, right? 14,
Mhm.
15, getting involved 16, really taking it professionally, kind of up in that professional approach in the last couple of years. What kind of allured you into the world of trading and into the environment?
Cool. So I've always been online. I've always been trying to make money since a very young age. I've always been doing these business models and whatnot, but I never really had any success with them. And there was always an element of it's not my fault, it's their fault. Like it's if I was doing Shopify, for example, it wasn't my store, it was the customers. They didn't want to buy it. There was always an external factor that I couldn't control. The main like allure of trading is the fact that everything was on me. It was only me who was executing the positions. Obviously, the market is going to do what the market's going to do, but there was no excuse. And that's what really like brought me in because
Mm.
I sat there and I traded obviously initially and I lost a lot of money. And I understood that if I can lose this money, if it can happen that quickly, I can
Mm.
do it on the inverse. I can make that money. I
Mm.
just need to be better. And that was the main kind of allure.
Okay, interesting. And like the process, in terms of your intraday, you're talking about price action and I suppose the simplicity associated with that. Would you are you looking at supply and demand, order flow, trend analysis?
So I would describe my trading as obviously just basic price action. So you're looking at your market structure and that kind of stuff. But I primarily trade what I would refer to as candle behavior and price like behavioral characteristics. So I'm really paying attention to the candlesticks, to the way price is forming in correlation with a higher time frame. So I do still correlate with a higher time frame. I correlate with DXY, so it has to be in line with what I'm trading. But it's primarily just price action. And essentially, just to summarize my strategy, I'm looking for a key level, looking for a break, a retest, and a continuation. Very, very simple. I do use some smart money concepts like liquidity, order blocks, and fair value gaps, but it's primarily focused on the price action strategy.
Interesting, brilliant. Like that's fairly thorough. And I suppose combining, I suppose with a lot of people, it's trying to find the approach that works for you because it's not
Exactly.
necessarily like there's one entire trade. Everyone's obviously different how they approach the markets, how they look at the markets, and trying to mold your own strategy from all of these different things is important. That's really, really interesting. And
Yeah.
You've mentioned there a bit about the DXY. Would you incorporate fundamental analysis into your strategy as well?
So I wouldn't really classify myself as a fundamental trader. I'm never really looking at like the macro micro economics, but I
Mm.
am always paying attention to the news and the fundamentals, and I'm keeping an eye on it. I would say my main fundamental tracking is just I look at the dollar every day, and when you've done that for a couple of years, I just know where the dollar is at. I've just seen it happen. But I never trade high impact news. That's a big rule for me. I never trade any red follow news. So I'm not primarily focused, but definitely correlate.
So trying to, I suppose, have a sustainable approach, but also trying to mitigate risk simultaneously, I guess.
Exactly.
Interesting. Interesting. And I suppose when you talk about risk, it's like risk, discipline, psychology, everything goes hand in hand, really, doesn't it?
100%.
I suppose within your strategy, then, what is your risk? Because I know you mentioned 5 to 6, ideally. Obviously, sometimes difficult. It can be quite difficult to stick to the plan, of course.
Yeah.
But in terms of your risk profile, are you risking 1% per trade, 2% per position? What is
Yeah.
your general risk exposure?
So I will always risk 1% per trade, max one trade per day, one position active at a time. So very, very limited to 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much it. It's the 1% rule.
Okay, and you don't add in, like, you don't have scale-ins or like added, like, let's say it's not a one and done type scenario where it's like one trade, one position. You won't add in or add in multiple positions
No,
on.
it's very much a one and done. There's very, very few scenarios where I'll like scale in or out of a position.
Okay, interesting, brilliant. Okay, and then in terms of your emotions, how do you look at then managing your emotional? Because obviously price action, it's developing in front of you. A lot of
Mhm.
traders, they tend to get sucked in, and all of a sudden they're either over trading or the revenge trading, and the discipline goes out the window. I know you're talking about there your risk, handling your emotions then within all of that.
Sorry, you cut out right there, mate. Can you repeat that?
Apologies. My microphone's disconnected. So how do you handle your emotions within your overall trading process?
So obviously the emotions are the tricky part of trading. That is where the majority of the problem comes from. But my emotions are handled via like two ways. Number one is I have a very strict trading plan. I know exactly when I'm meant to manage my trade, when I'm meant to close, open, etc. So I know what my approach should be. And also I'm very self-aware of how I'm feeling while I'm trading. For like the past year, I've actually done live streams. So I've been live streaming on Discord, like all my trades. So I've had an audience watching me, which has obviously added an additional layer of psychology.
Okay,
But
brilliant.
I've just been able to stay just very disciplined through just keeping myself in check. There's no other way to put it. I've just learned it through the experience and through the discipline of doing it for the past couple of years that I've
Yeah.
been able to build upon that.
So in your opinion, accountability, that self accountability is key.
100%, 100%. To me, I think accountability is everything. Like you're never going to improve in the markets if you don't take like full responsibility for how you're acting and how you're feeling and what that's causing you to do.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. I suppose it's all very good having your trading process and having like your entry confirmations or criteria for entry, but
Yeah,
it's also important that you have your rules of engagement to say, well, if I'm not emotionally dialed in or there's
yeah,
any distractions, that right, that's the point in time that I take a step back rather than obviously getting sucked in, which is hugely important.
yeah.
Brilliant. This is really interesting. And I suppose in terms of your process, in terms of your strategy, your
Mhm.
structure approach to the markets,
Yeah.
do you look at implementing like journaling? Do you review your process? Do you look at your performance and metrics within that regard?
Yeah, so I'm very, very big on journaling, back testing, and data collection. I think that's a major aspect to refining your edge over the market and just keeping track of what you're doing. I think journaling is like a non-negotiable. Like you have to be doing that. You need to be keeping track of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and actually building upon that.
Mhm.
So I journal on Google Drive. I screenshot my trades. I write underneath them as to why I took the trade analysis and whatnot. And I also frequently backtest on FS replay, so I gather a lot of data that way. But yeah, I often, what I do is usually each like financial quarter, I'll sit down and I'll look at the past quarter of trading and I'll review my data, look at my win rate, look at the trades that I won, the trades that I lost, and actually just really sit and analyze, could I improve? Could I be doing anything better? Is there a certain pattern in my trading that I can maybe make an adjustment on, etc.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely very important.
Interesting. I suppose that quarterly is quite important because obviously the more time that goes by, the more
Mhm.
data you have to work with. So you're getting a more accurate representation of actually, well, am I following my trading plan? Am I following my rules?
Yeah.
is my process in check? Is my discipline in check? Which is very important. And I suppose aside from that, going back to the strategy, I know you mentioned obviously trying to avoid the fundamentals, trying to avoid that kind of volatility.
Yeah.
Would you incorporate like volume analysis, volume profiles? Does that ever play an impact on your trading?
So I've had a little bit of a play around with like volume profiles and whatnot, but my main problem with volume is, especially in like forex and indices, is not necessarily a centralized market. You can't really track the volume too well, so it's not really too accurate. But again, my whole general trading philosophy is trading is complicated as it is. It's very complicated to keep your psychology and your emotions and everything in check. So why complicate the system as well? And then you have two complicated things to work with. So I try to keep the trading as simple as possible, price action, break and retest, and then just focus on the psychology. Because I know that the break and retest gives me enough of an edge over the market to be profitable over the long term. So that's all I need.
It's just a case of finding those opportunities.
Exactly.
And then when those opportunities are located, then it's just a case of, well, this is the process. These are the rules of engagement. And then it's just a case of cause and effect execution, I guess. Interesting. Brilliant. Brilliant. And I suppose like 3 years, right? So you've navigated more recently around COVID. How did you find trading during COVID? And then at the onset after COVID, how did you find that journey?
Yeah, so it's been very interesting the past couple of years, especially with what's happened, how the markets have changed, and there was definitely a period of crazy volatility that was definitely in the markets. At the time, I was actually primarily trading GBP JPY, so my trading style was a little bit differently. But pretty much what I done is just during the really huge movements when price was crazy volatile, I just stayed out. I just thought protect my capital, let me not lose my funded account, let me not just do anything crazy. Let me stay out and wait for the markets to kind of correct themselves and get back into regular periods. There definitely were some crazy trades that I did hit during that period of volatility, which is always very nice. But
Yeah.
I tried to mitigate the risk because I understood that this wasn't regular price action and we definitely had a lot of things going on.
It wasn't normal market conditions, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you look at it afterwards, then it's just a case of everything rallied. Then it was
Yeah.
by the indices and then hold, I guess, because
Literally.
obviously on the recovery. So I think everyone made money during that period of time.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's I suppose dissecting the different markets, because you look at the markets now, you look at the markets 2021, you look at the markets 2020, constantly changing. And I think
Yeah.
being able to, I suppose, change and develop with the markets and being nimble enough to do that, I think is important as well, which is
100%.
yeah, for sure. And I suppose moving forward now, so looking at your process, looking at your journey,
Yeah.
do you have like targets in mind? Do you have goals in mind that you'd like to do? Or do you find you take it a week at a time, a day at a time, a month at a time, and then just see where it goes?
So currently I'm at a point in my trading where I'm not actively trying to add or make adjustments or like crazy refinements. I'm just at a point where I know my system very well. I know what I'm doing and I'm simply just doing that every day. At this point,
Okay.
my current goals are just to increase my capital. So eventually going for max allocation for ACG. So looking to grow the capital and continue to trade. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just
Interesting.
continue to go through the process.
Interesting. And I suppose even beyond that, then you can look at maybe other organizations and try and really
100%.
scale up the your book of business, I guess, in
Yeah.
simple terms to the max it can be. Because I suppose even simple, like if you can get 2 or 3 prop firms getting 600,000, $800,000, $1 million on equity, even the small percentages, the 1, the 2s, the 3%, it very much compounds, doesn't it?
100%.
For
100%.
sure,
Yeah. So
for sure. Brilliant. And in terms of your journey, right? So you've been through it all. You've been through the signal providers. You've at a younger age, of course, and even still now, you're still obviously a young man. How do you feel that, or actually, I suppose, what are the qualities really that you think traders nowadays should have? If you're, let's say, a new trader coming into the markets, what do you think are the primary kind of qualities that a successful trader needs today in 2023 and beyond?
Okay, so I think if you're coming into the markets, some basic characteristics you need is number one, just accountability, like we discussed, just being able to take responsibility for your actions and not play like the victim and not be like the market done this or X, Y, and Z. It's all you. Second aspect is definitely being tenacious, being like perseverant and understanding that trading is incredibly difficult and you're not going to get it initially. You're probably going to have to go through a bunch of systems and take a bunch of funded accounts and liquidate this one and blow this one. And you're going to have to go through it because those first-hand experiences, those lessons is what gives you the knowledge to not make that mistake in the future. So understanding that it is a learning curve, and trading is not necessarily a linear process. You don't just start and go up. It's much more exponential, where you have a lot of time fumbling about and then something clicks and you start to understand. But besides from that, another characteristic is 100% discipline. I think without discipline, you have nothing. You can't do anything. Even if you have a great trading plan, a great edge over the market, if you're not able to implement that and stay disciplined in that approach, your numbers don't make sense and it means nothing.
Interesting. Some wise words at a young age, for sure. And I suppose as well, the whole idea of the accountability, conscious of your situation as well, knowing exactly where you are, how you're feeling as well, coming into the emotional aspect as well. And I suppose with your background, okay, because I know you've been through it all, and now you're obviously funded, which is hugely impressive at such a young age. What do you think it gives you the flexibility to really continue succeeding just within the financial markets?
So I would say that's a two-part answer. Number one, it comes from experience. I believe that my subconscious brain has picked up a lot of, I don't really know how to articulate this, but there's actually a great book about this. It's called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. But your subconscious brain picks up these patterns and it picks up this market data and this knowledge, and that's how you're able to improve upon the next trade, because you've got it in the back of your head, innit? So that's part of the reason why I'm able to continuously get better. But an additional part of that is that my trading plan, it is fixed. I do have a set of mechanical rules, but because I've been doing this for so long, I know how to apply my rules to a different market. So I'm able to be fluid whenever, for example, what you were saying earlier, whenever the market conditions change, we go from ranging to pullback markets to ranging or whatever the case is. I'm able to change around my system and find the setups that fit my plan within that sort of context. If that makes sense.
Hey, interesting. Really good. I suppose being able to apply your approach to all market conditions, but just obviously making sure at the same time that you be disciplined, you be steadfast in your approach, but also making sure that you're trying to stick to your process as much as possible, I guess, really, isn't it? And I suppose the final question then, which is probably an easy one. What do you enjoy most about working as a trader? So your past, your present, your future. What's the bit about trading that you enjoy the most? Actually, let me rephrase that. What's the bits that you enjoy the most, and what's the parts that you dislike?
Cool. So the parts that I enjoy the most, obviously, making money is a very fun aspect of trading. But besides from that, I really do like the self-development that trading kind of forces you to undergo. I think to become a good trader, you really need to look internally and really develop your own character. So that was an underlying benefit of trading that I didn't know when I got into it. What I hate about trading is the fact that you may be great at trading. You may be on top of the game. You're funded. You've got a great strategy, great system, but the markets don't care, and the markets will frequently humble you. So it's one of those where there's always one little trade that will hit your SL and then go to TP, or just some little irritating thing that will happen on the chart. And it's just the market showing you that they don't care. But
they're going to do what the markets are going to do, and either you're on the right side or you're on the wrong side. It doesn't really matter, I guess, doesn't it? Yeah, for sure. Well, Daniel, my friend, it's absolute pleasure having you on today. It's been really good to see you. Really good to speak with you. I wish you the very, very best of luck over the course of 2023 and beyond. Do you have any plans and objectives for the rest of the year? Continue going the way you're going, I guess.
So rest of the year, the goal is to hit a million in funded capital by the end of this year, and to continue to just grow my social media presence and just get better. That's it. Yeah.
Very good. Very honest answers, but direct nonetheless. So Daniel, best of luck with everything. We'll definitely love to have you on. I'll tell you what, it'd be great to have you on in 6 or 12 months down the line, seeing Daniel at full capital allocation. So we wish you the very best of luck.
I'm sure that you will, mate. I'm sure that you will.
Brilliant. Well, come here, look. Thank you very much for joining us today. Absolute pleasure having you on. Great having your insights and your thoughts into the markets and how you approach it. And we wish you obviously the very, very best for 2023 and beyond. So take care, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers.